Hi, I'm Will from Tested.
I'm Norm from Tested.
Norm, you know what I have in my left hand?
You have a Kindle
Paperwhite.
It's the new Kindle Paperwhite ebook reader.
It is brand new. This is their new flagship e-ink ebook reader. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and I just have to say it's quite good. I really like it a lot.
What generation Kindle is this?
This is the 5th or 6th, I think.
So Kindle started out big and fat, then it got a little smaller, then the third gen was the keyboard, which is the one that everyone, that was the best one for a while.
It was the first time they hit a pretty good price. It was the first time that it was a relatively, it didn't look kind of super ugly, and it was a good size for what it did.
And then they got rid of the keyboard,
and
there was a Kindle Touch.
Yeah. Last year they had a non-touch device. I actually have that one right here.
Yeah, so they had a touch one last year.
So this is the touch one. And then this is the non-touch one. The non-touch one had buttons on the side and a digital pad to control on-screen keyboard that you used using the digital pad.
And the touch one had no buttons on the side and had one button on the bottom. And also, of course, both have the Kindles with offers. So they're about $20 cheaper.
You save 20 or 30 bucks depending on which model you bought at the time. The interesting thing about the touch one last year is it used an IR sensor. So there were infrared lights around the edges. You can see the screen's a little bit recessed. So if you hit it with your finger, you could be wearing gloves, it would still work. Also, if you hit it with your covers when you were laying in bed, it would turn pages for you.
But none of the Kindles before had a light. Now you could buy a case.
This is the case for the light.
Chunky case.
Yep.
And the light kind of pops up and it's really bright.
Turn it on.
You did not like it that much.
It is way too bright for when you're laying in a dark room all by yourself. It doesn't seem that light out here, but it is like a spotlight when you're laying in bed, basically.
So the new Kindle Paperwhite.
The new Paperwhite has an integrated light in the screen. So let me go ahead and turn that up. Oops. It's a capacitive touchscreen instead of the infrared touchscreen, so it's much more responsive. You can see as I'm rolling up and down.
And so that means it's also less recessed because there are no IR sensors on the side.
So yeah, the recession on the Kindle Touch, the previous generation, tended to collect cruft and hair and bits of skin and whatever you happen to have. It was difficult to clean inside there. You had to use a Q-tip usually. And this is much less recessed. It's still a little tiny bit recessed, but nothing more than the previous Kindles. The new one's quite good. I like the backlight a lot. I find that when you're laying in bed, setting it on like 2 or 3 is pretty much exactly where you want to be.
Amazon says that you can and should probably just leave the light on, that it doesn't affect battery life all that much.
So they claim 8 weeks of battery with the light on 10, which is halfway.
Okay.
Or 3/4 of the way, 2/3, something like that, and wireless off. In reality, I always leave wireless on because I find myself moving from device to device, and I really use the sync your place when I'm moving from reading on my phone to my iPad to my Kindle, depending on where I happen to be.
And this is something really amazing. With the new e-ink processors inside, it's really fast. It's refresh rate, like moving just this bar up and down, you can tell it's not doing the whole blinking the entire screen to adjust.
So it still does the full page refresh every once in a while. If you tap back a few pages, it's like every 5 or 10 pages, it does the full blank. And what that does is kind of resets the e-ink screen. The way e-ink works is they're little tiny beads of magnetically charged balls.
There it goes. It just did a full refresh.
It did a full refresh. Inside those, each of those, there's 212 or 220 pixels per inch. Each cell holds a whole bunch of these little beads. When a charge is applied one way, the beads go to the back of the screen. The screen looks white. When a charge is applied the other way, the beads are pushed forward and they become
like a really,
black.
Really advanced Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah, I think actually they roll now. They don't even push forward and back. The upshot is it has to do the full refresh every once in a while, or else there's a little bit of ghosting detectable. Although that's much less noticeable in this than any previous generation.
Now, is the page turn faster than before? When do you actually?
I couldn't tell a difference.
I think it's about the same.
It's about the same. It doesn't, like the last generation didn't feel like it needed to be any faster.
Yeah.
The other thing that's important to note about this is, unlike some of the other touch devices, it's not a simple 50-50 split on touchscreen. They do a pretty good job explaining this when you first turn on a new touch Kindle, but basically it's 2/3 of the screen moves you forward. So if you touch anywhere but this left edge, that's going to page turn forward. So this will be a page turn forward. That'll probably be a page turn forward. If you want to go back, you tap the left edge of the screen, and I think that's user configurable. If you want to pull down the menus, you go up to the top. One of the things that they've removed with this generation is the physical home button. That one, this guy right here is a physical home button. You hit that, it goes home. In order to get to that home, now you have to pull it down at the top and hit the home button up here. I didn't find that particularly offensive, but I do like the physical home button better than not having a physical home button. Other things to note are, because you don't have to have the case to have the light, it is a much, much smaller device.
Yeah.
And this plus the old lights with the cases were like $70, $65 each, which is crazy expensive for what it is. Having the light built in is a huge upgrade over the $69.
And you really didn't notice that with the light on in daylight, it was unusable.
It makes the screen seem a little bit wider. It's definitely there's no change in usability. It's e-ink, so it's a reflective screen. It works very well outside. You can read at the beach. You can read in the bright sun. You can read inside in the dark, whichever. The problem before was that you couldn't read in the dark without an external source of light. Now you can. That's really good. Of course, you can still buy stuff from the store on the device. This is available in 3G and Wi-Fi only models. It's I think it's $120 for the offers. Wi-Fi 180 for the non-offers.
You can only
3G
buy
for the offers,
with
3G
offers on the store.
Yeah.
And then you can pay $15 afterwards.
$20 to upgrade.
To go to the offers.
Yeah, exactly. I don't find the offers particularly offensive. I'll show you what they are. This guy right down here at the bottom of the home screen is an offer. It's typically kind of a Groupon style deal where you have the pay $5 to get $10 of something, or sometimes it'll be an Amazon promotion. The other day it was click a button to get $5 worth of MP3 store credit, which was perfectly fine thing to do.
But it's not smart where if you redeem the offer, the offer goes away, it'll still show that same offer.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So this is what the offers look like on the home screen when it's locked, and it changes every time, more or less. Typically there's a button that says, hey, learn more. Sometimes that is it'll send an email to your account. Sometimes it just gives you a credit or something.
But you never see the offers while you're reading.
You never see the offers while you're reading. One thing that they have changed with this version of the Kindle is it used to be that you just press the power button to turn on the device. Now you have to press the power button and swipe the screen to turn on. I kind of feel like that's because they felt like people weren't looking at the ads enough before. I think it's a little bit unfortunate. I'd rather you just press the button and the device comes on.
Muscle memory.
It's not even muscle memory. It's just one more impediment to you reading your book. I'm going to go back to my book. I'm reading Cloud Atlas right now. Of course, all the Kindle stuff works. It syncs your places across all your devices. You can highlight stuff and share, tweet, whatever, all that from the internet now. There's a couple of other reading features that they've added that I quite like. The X-ray stuff is on this new Kindle as well as it was on the last generation. That lets you kind of see a list of what's on the page right now. So here are the 3 characters that we're talking about at this point in the book. It's kind of interesting. I don't really care that much. The big thing is here's how much is left in the book, here's how much is left in the chapter.
And then it gives you an estimate based on your reading of how long it thinks you'll take until the end of the chapter.
So I haven't exactly figured out whether it's actually basing it based on my reading speed or something else. So I have 1 page left in the chapter, 43 minutes left in the book. I find the left in the book is a little bit unnecessary. The left in the chapter is great when you're laying in bed reading late at night and you kind of are like, oh God, I got to get to the end of this chapter.
Even if it's a rough estimate and not based on your actual reading, it's still useful.
Yeah, it's good information to have, and it's much better than previously where we didn't have a way to see how far close to the next chapter we were.
So would you recommend buying this new Kindle for someone who has last year's Kindle Touch?
It's a tough upgrade for last year. The screen is a little bit better. It's not markedly better. There's more fonts available, stuff like that. It's a little bit easier to read, but the speed's the same. The refresh times are the same. It's a tough upgrade from last year, especially if you ponied up for an expensive Kindle Touch last year.
But if you have one of the first 3 generations of Kindle, maybe the one with the keyboard, then $120, you're going to notice a difference both in the touch and also the light.
Or if you're using a Kindle with a kludgy clip-on reading light to lay in bed and read so you don't disturb your spouse, that's a completely different situation. This is a much, much more pleasant way to read. You don't have to carry a big bulky case. I think I'll probably eventually end up getting a little sleeve to drop mine in just so it doesn't get scratched up in my bag.
Yeah.
But it weighs less than, it's a little bit under half a pound, so it's lighter even than a 7-inch tablet, and is a very comfortable reading experience. The thing I would say is that it makes very little sense to buy the non-touch version of the Kindle now. So it's $60 now, I think. $60, $70?
With the keys, with the buttons.
With the buttons and with offers. But you're going to need a light with it. For the price of what the light would cost, you can get this, and this is a much better device. So I think it's worth the upsell in this case. It's the Kindle Paperwhite. It's an unfortunate name, but it is a really, really nice ebook reader.
Your favorite ebook reader?
My favorite. For Tested, I'm Will.
I'm Norm.
See you guys later.
Bye.